Hi, everyone. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. My name is Joyce. I am going to be your presenter today. We're going to talk about some mistakes that law firms make. We're going to give folks just another minute or two to join. So just sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee if you'd like one, grab some water. I'll give you an additional 45 seconds. So how much can you do in 45 seconds to be ready? I will tell you, this is going to be a relatively quick webinar. You might be used to these things taking about an hour. I find that it is not always the best use of everyone's time to sit in front of a screen and try to absorb knowledge for an hour. So we're going to roll through this pretty quickly, and we'll probably be done in 20 or 30 minutes. You can sort of budget for 25. With that being said, because we are going to roll quickly and we are recording this for future use, I'm going to save questions for the end. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I have the chat window up right now. If it is crucial to get your question answered right now to provide clarity to any of our slides, I will absolutely address it then. Otherwise, just sit back, relax, and prepare to take some great notes. All right, with that, we are 2 minutes after start time. So let's rock and roll. All right, as I mentioned, my name's Joyce. I am an attorney. I'm licensed in North Carolina. I've worked in legal tech or legal technology since 2011. And also I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. So it's very important to me personally to have a very extensive personal pursuit. For me, it's Girl Scouts, and I will let you know, we have a brand new cookie this season. It's called Raspberry Rally, and it is supposed to be delicious. I have not had the privilege of tasting it yet, but everyone seems to love it. 130 days, guys. We are at 130 days as of the end of August. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to look at mistakes that law firms make, specifically that you might be making in your firm, whether it's large or small. These are mistakes that happen across the industry, across practice areas, and across firm size. We're going to look at some real world solutions to eliminate those mistakes. And then we're going to talk about the fact that you have value. I believe that it's important to end there. One of the biggest mistakes you're going to make is how much worth you put on yourself, but we will save that one for the end. All right, so let's just jump right into it. There's no reason to waste time on this. If you have a pen and pencil ready, let's talk about number one. Stop equating revenue for profit. Just because you are making money in your firm, or just because you are putting in hours, if you aren't collecting revenue, say you're in a larger firm, you're an associate working for someone else, just because you are putting time in does not necessarily mean that you are being profitable, either as a solo attorney or as a contributor, an individual contributor to a team. Do you know where your accounts receivables are right now? So no matter where you are, who you work for, yourself or someone else, do you know how much money you have billed? Do you know how much money you plan to bill by the end of the month? Where is your worth to your firm coming from? And we can talk about, intrinsic wealth and inherent worth and all of those things. But what really matters at the end of the day, right, if we're trying to stay in business, is the actual bottom line. So where are you today? Where's the money that you're contributing coming from? How much is owed to you right now? Do you know that? If you work at a firm, you work for someone else, you will be counted at the end of the quarter, the end of the month, the end of the year, as to how much you personally brought in for the firm, right? That's part of a metric that you are probably accountable to, and you're certainly accountable to it if you work for yourself. Have you billed? And do you have money sitting in collections right now, or that in any other industry would be in collections? Do you have outstanding invoices of 30, 60, 90 days? If so, I want you to think about your process. How do you let your clients know that they need to bill you? And if you are going to be judged on the total amount that you bring into your firm, it behooves you to understand how that message of when do you pay me, why do you pay me is communicated, and to have some control mechanisms or at least some insight into the collections process. It's important to understand exactly how much you brought into your firm last month, and you need to know if you are a small business owner yourself, if you are working for yourself, or you're a partner in a firm, you need to understand how much is owed to your various liabilities, your accounts payable right now. If you work for someone else, you need to understand the costs that you have incurred for your matters that need to be paid before you get paid on those matters, because that's the way it always works. Not just your total billables, but the total amount that you are going to bring in this month. What did you bring in last month? Now this text gets a little bit smaller, so bear with me here. I want to just help you figure out a basic equation to figure out exactly how much value you are bringing to your business. And I have to be very clear here, folks. If you are not balancing your budget, even your individual budget as an individual contributor in a firm, if you are not balancing your budget every month, considering not only what is collectible, but your collections rate, then your idea if whether or not you're going to be profitable is absolutely no more than a guess. That is the short and long of it. It is a guess if you don't know your collections rate. To understand your collections rate, you need to look at how much is collected on average from a standard invoice, how much is collected at the time it's due, how much is collected at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then beyond that. To understand, if you haven't run that math before and you don't have the tools to do that right now, to understand that number, here's some numbers that I suggest to get started with to help you truly understand what is likely coming to you. But it is a guess without the hard numbers, but here's a great place to start. I want you to look at your uncollected bills and multiply that times your average collection rate. Now that collection rate needs to be what is going to be due this month, what's 30 days past, what's 60 days past. If it's 90 days past, honestly, you can just probably write it off. Your average collection rate based on time is variable. So do not apply a standard collection rate to everything that you have due. You can start as high as 90%, although that is a dangerous game to play. Honestly, I would probably start a little bit lower than that for things that you believe you're going to collect this month that are due this month. You might even want to bump that down to 80%. If they're 30 days past due, you might want to put this at no higher than 80%. And if they are up to 60 days past due, you might want to go as high as 70%. But do not assume that just because it's out there, you're going to collect it, right? If you just want to have an average collection rate, you can probably start with around 75% if you haven't done this math before. And you might ask, why is this so low? It's because most people have an average collection rate of in the 80s, right? So if you don't know for sure, budget a little lower. You take that, your unbilled work with your collection rate, you add to that your uncollected bills and the variable collection rate on that. Any interest on assets that you have that you're not designating as savings, if you are designate them as savings, do not consider that savings needs to be in a separate bucket, minus all your liabilities this month. If you would like any help actually running these numbers, you can reach out to the TimeSolve team to look at actual reports that are available in TimeSolve to help you determine an actual collection rate. And you can run this and determine how much you are truly expecting to receive in your accounts receivables. And that gives you an actual list of that starting point in your assets, which is crucial. So just because you're working, just because you have income out there that's collectible, does not mean that you are a profitable firm by any means. So understand where you actually are. Reach out to the TimeSolve team to get the reports if you're using TimeSolve today. If you are not, we'll have the website up at the end of this slideshow, but please reach out to the team. Number two, stop making collections a nightmare. This is the hardest conversation that most law firms have. They've done the work, they've put in the effort, they have represented their client, and now you have to collect. And no one likes asking someone for money after you've already done work and you feel like the client is disrespecting your value proposition as an attorney, right? They just aren't paying you the agreed upon amount. So you need to do a couple of things here. First and foremost, your invoices need to be run on a regular basis, and this needs to be communicated in your scope of work agreement and in your fee agreement. This is how I will work for you. This is how much work is going to be done. This is when I expect to get paid for this work, and you need to bill consistently on that time frame. There is occasionally an argument to be made that once work is completed on a project, you need to go ahead and bill that client. I say almost never is that the case. And the reason is because it's so easy to make mistakes in those one-off repeatable events that you scatter throughout your calendar, right? You need to have dedicated time on your calendar to review your pre-billed work. So if you work for yourself, this is pretty important. If you work for someone else, this is pretty important. You're going to get, if you work for someone else and you are a contributor in a firm, you will get a notification probably from someone in that firm that you need to review your invoices before clients are actually sent their bills, right? Put time on your calendar. You know when those invoices are run. Put time on your calendar to review those invoices so that never comes as a surprise to you. You need to know, what am I billing for? What am I going to write off, if anything? Have I, importantly, collected all the time and attributed that to this specific matter that I'm about to bill for? Have I correctly attributed all the costs that I have incurred in representation for this client on this particular matter? You need to review that. And that is not something that can be done at the drop of a hat. You need time on your calendar to get it together. And invoices should always, always, always be digital first. And I know that there are folks out there who say, well, I don't know if they need to be digital first. I have clients who really want paper bills. That's great. Send them a paper bill. Additionally, there's no cost to sending an invoice with most systems. Send an invoice with a payment link attached. And that's the next little step down here. All bills should include a link for digital payment. We're in a, new normal world, right? COVID changed everything. People don't want to go into offices if they don't have to. People don't want to actually write physical checks if they don't have to. Your staff probably doesn't want to go to the bank if they don't have to. They don't want to reconcile individual checks if they don't have to. All of that can be eliminated with a digital payment link. So payments digitally are an asset to your clients because that's how they pay all of their other bills. They are an asset to you because they reduce cost and waste for your firm's side. You aren't mailing out paper invoices to everyone. That's a reduction in time. It's a reduction in postage fees. Get it together. Send digital invoices first. Include that in your fee agreement. Invoices will be mailed via email to the email address that we have on file. Payment is expected no later than 30 days after receipt, right? Every single practice management program you're going to use will have something like this where you can send things out digitally. You just need to do it. If you have any questions, the TimeSolve team can show you how. You can call the TimeSolve team today. You can get started collecting today. So if you have accounts receivable, you're using something other than TimeSolve, you can call TimeSolve today, start an account, and start billing clients today. And you can have money in your account tomorrow with digital payments. It is an incredible process. All right, number 3. Huge mistake that law firms make is they represent clients who have different goals than the firm does. I think we've all seen this, and this is a really polite way of saying don't hire bad clients. Most of us have been in a situation where we have overextended ourselves or hired someone who we really didn't want to, but we needed to keep the lights on. We needed to push forward. We just needed to have some revenue coming in the door, right? I think just about everybody has done it. And if you're a new lawyer or a baby lawyer, or you're just new at a firm, you don't want to be the person who says, I'm not going to represent that guy because he's a jerk. However, folks, there is a time and a place to do that. I know everyone on this call has had to either know someone or has had to personally fire a client. I know that you are probably like me and have seen reviews of your peers either online or in your state bar journals. And the complaints that people make are sometimes wild and so far off base. So how do you avoid those things? How do you make sure that you and your clients have the same shared goals? That is what the consultation is for. You don't have to offer a free consultation. In most cases, I advocate for not having a free consultation because your time is valuable. It's a marketing gimmick. If that works for you, that's fine. I generally say don't do it, especially if you're fighting for every dollar. But in your client consultation, you need to manage what that client expects from you and how you expect to be treated as an attorney. Yes, you are providing a service, but you're also a professional. And what you do matters, and you've worked extremely hard to be an attorney licensed in your state, capable, competent, certified. Maybe you've got a certification in a particular practice area. At the very least, you've passed the bar and you've passed the MPRE, right? So your opinion matters. They are paying for your expertise. If they are the type of client who believes that they should tell you who all your witnesses are going to be, or how you're supposed to conduct a deposition, or how you're supposed to present evidence at trial, they may or may not be for you. So you need to lay that out pretty clearly. But if they no longer believe that you are providing good counsel, or if they have stopped paying, you should terminate service. And this is a pretty easy thing for most attorneys to do. You can always ask a judge if you need a waiver in a particular case. However, always feel free to terminate service. A client who is constantly harping on the things you were doing wrong, or constantly needs to be hounded down to pay you so you can take the next step in representation for them, those folks are taking time away from your good paying clients. They are taking time away from you being able to find other good paying clients. And I would not represent them. I just truly would not do it. But I understand if you get stuck in a situation where it happens, but always try to get to the goal where bad clients don't have to be bad clients. Your consultation is where we set that up. And we'll get to setting client expectations in just a moment here. But before we do that, because we are talking about systems and intake and hiring new clients and consultations, I do want to talk about manual systems. We frequently see manual systems start at the very beginning of contact between a lawyer and a law firm. Notes are taken on pieces of paper. Consultations are recorded on a calendar that's not online, or it's just the front desk calendar, or maybe it's a calendar that's not tied to a potential matter or a potential electronic contact in either a CRM or a practice management system, right? So what we need to do is make sure that from the action, clients are tracked in our system and we know who they are. We can run a conflict check before they come in for a consultation. We can run a separate conflict check after consultation. We can track all of the documents that they uploaded to us, including all of our representation agreements, fee agreements, discovery items, documents that are necessary for us to represent them, any forms that you need for them to fill out. All of that needs to go through a digital system and not a paper system. Now, that's not just me blowing smoke. It's not just me saying, hey, I work for a company that sells technology, so I think that you should use technology. There are real business reasons for this. And first of all, manual systems are legitimately bad for business. First of all, there's no way to accurately value your business. So if you are a small business owner who is looking for a loan and you say, I have tons of clients, I have lots of accounts receivable, this is how much money I brought in last month, this is how much money I brought in last year. What evidence do you actually have of that? How do you truly know your collections rate? How do you know how much money you are worth? You should never have to go to the bank and fight for a loan, right? Someone should want to give you a loan because your business is so well organized. It's very clear who your clients are. It's very clear how much money you've brought in last month. It's very clear how much revenue you expect to collect next month and the next 3 months. And you can see this broken out over a period of time, right? You can't prove your accounts receivable. You cannot accurately track overdue invoices. So if you have accounts receivable out there, you have overdue invoices, how do you track them? Do you have any idea exactly how many invoices you sent out last month that have not yet been paid? Do you know for sure? Do you know the total amount? Do you know how many clients have multiple invoices that are overdue? Maybe you do and maybe you don't, but if you do, I guarantee it's because you have a digital system and it's not because you're tracking things manually. And importantly, crucially, you do not have a way in a manual system to automate the billing process with recurring billing, with reconciliation, and with ongoing collections. So let's stop here for just a second and talk about the value of recurring billing. So this is a trend that we're seeing in the legal world where people want to pay portions of their bills a bit at a time. It's honestly not that far off from where we've been in the profession for a very long time. Our services generally aren't cheap, right? Sometimes they are for what we do. Maybe we think we're really lowballing ourselves, but for the average person who has to shell out several $1,000s because they got, a DUI or they're going through a divorce or just your standard lay person type of thing, it's a lot of money for those folks, right? And they very frequently don't have a few $1,000s in liquid that they can just give to you. So what we are seeing is law firms enabling recurring payments. So every month you have an equal payment due. Maybe it's $150 over the next 10 months, right? Maybe it's $250 or $300, however it happens to be, and on your billing rate. One of the wonderful things specifically about TimeSolve is the ability to set up recurring payments. So this is a crucial tool for you, especially for folks who don't have the ability to pay their full amount up front, or who push back and want to pay over time. It's a big deal with the sort of with inflation and the recession that the country's just gone through. This is something that makes a lot of difference. And honestly, this is a better selling point for you as a firm than something like a free consultation. And I truly believe that, because I don't want you to ever give away your services for free. You are too important, and what you have to say is too valuable to give it away for free. But what you can do is say, listen, I can't give it to you for free, but I understand that it's challenging to make a payment, the full payment today. So let's talk about a payment plan, right? And this is how you can manage this. The other piece of manual systems being bad for business is bringing on new folks. There's no way to adequately train new hires. When you have a digital system where you have templates or workflows or pre-made documents already in place, a pre-made system where you say, this is when my invoices go out, this is how you do it, this is how you click it, and you go and you send those invoices to folks, or this is how you send reminders to clients. It's all right here in a system. All of that becomes a sort of micro learning management system or a knowledge base. It becomes institutional knowledge in your firm. And then if your receptionist that you've had for the past 15 years decides she's going to retire, you're not at a loss for your business. You still have all the same data. You still have the ability to run all the same processes, okay? The next thing I want to talk to you about with manual systems, two other things, is terrible accessibility and backups, right? So having a piece of paper, having an Excel spreadsheet on your laptop, sure, it's easy and you can get to it, but you cannot work that way if you have any type of virtual office systems, or if you have a virtual receptionist, or if you have a bookkeeper that wants to log in remotely to reconcile your books at the end of the month. It's just not going to work for you, right? So you're limiting your ability to hire people, and you're limiting your ability to hire people in smaller roles than a typical traditional full service office would require. If you hire someone as a legal assistant in your firm, you've got to pay salary, you got to pay benefits, you got to do all kinds of things. You hire someone as a virtual receptionist, all you're paying is an hourly rate or a monthly subscription fee if you're using one of the subscription services, right? But that requires that you have a system that is not based either on paper or an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document or a series of folders where things aren't connected, right? We've talked about the accountability to process just a little bit, how you can build those things into an electronic system. So let's go further and let's talk about backups. Every single person in this country is living in a state where there's been a natural disaster in the last 5 years, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado, a wildfire, whatever it happens to be, an earthquake. You are in a state where a natural disaster has happened. There is no reason to believe that you are immune from natural disasters. It's just not going to happen. You need a backup that lives outside of your individual computer and outside of your individual office in order to maintain continuity of service for your clients. That is a basic matter of professional responsibility. And then this last piece down here that I always hate to bring up, but I do truly believe is important, is personal tragedy. If for some reason you are struck down and unable to continue the practice of law, your clients need to have their case files handed off to a new responsible attorney. If you are hit by a bus tomorrow, what is going to happen to Mrs. Jones, who is just trying to get through the probate of her husband's will, right? She needs someone to be able to represent her. And you don't want to leave her hanging. You don't want to leave her in a lurch. So having the ability to hand off your files absolutely matters. The next thing that you need to stop doing is repeating processes over and over and over again on a one-off basis. Stop processes that cause you to enter the same data in multiple places. If you have any system in your office where I'm going to type this into my calendar, and then I'm going to type this into my secretary's calendar, or I'm going to record all of my time here, and then I'm going to give it to someone else to record time in the system somewhere else, you are wasting time. You are not taking advantage of the resources within your firm, and you are a fiscal drain on your firm. And that sounds really harsh, but it's true, folks. So I'm just here to give you some hard realities. That's why you signed up for this, the mistakes that you're making. So let's put some truths out there. Everything that you are doing needs to be done in a way that syncs with your primary systems. You need to look for syncs, and you need to look for integrations. If you have any questions about what a sync is or how a sync happens, I will talk to you about it. But short answer here, you have data in one place. It triggers that export of data to go to a new place with no additional activity required on your part. I would thoroughly encourage you to house absolutely everything in as much as possible in the same system. So let's talk about TimeSolve, for example. This is a great way to talk about how you can track all of your time, track all of your expenses, and you can invoice your clients all within a single system. You can email that information out to your clients, and you can get a record of when it was sent to them, all of that within a single system. That's the type of synergy that we're looking for in solutions. And what's great with something specifically like TimeSolve is if you're using something like QuickBooks for your accounting, it's going to sync with your accounting. So when it's time to do your trust account reconciliation, all of that data you've put in TimeSolve automatically populated right on over into QuickBooks. So you don't have to worry about data being different in two places, right? So everything as much as possible in one system. And where that's not possible, like having an accounting and a practice management or a time and billing system separately, make sure they sync. I would really encourage you to talk to your provider about how often that sync happens, and if you've gotten some negative feedback from it. I can tell you from being in this industry for a while, there are some providers that I see massive issues with syncing over to QuickBooks. TimeSolve is not one of them. So you can talk to me, you can reach out to TimeSolve, and you can talk about how exactly that happens. And any of us will be more than happy to walk you through that process. Speaking of processes and repeating processes, I encourage you to automate absolutely everything you can. And where there are actual steps that you have to complete in a process, use a workflow. So workflows are really simple. You can think of them in their most basic form as a sequential checklist, right? When a person comes in and I need to do intake with them, I need to complete steps 1 through 4 in my first round of work on this. Once steps 1 through 4 are completed, then I can go on to steps 2 through 5 and 6, right? So it's in the intake process, for example, it's sending someone an intake form or collecting that data from them when they come into your office. It's uploading that information either manually or with a syncing process into your system. It's then creating a matter file in the system. Now, TimeSolve, you can automate so much of that workflow of intake, automatically create a matter. And then when it's time to build them, all of that information is already there, who they are, their address, their email address, any related parties that need to get a copy of the bill, all of those things, it's already there. But have those workflows in place and build them into your systems in with technology if possible. If not, just use a checklist, a written checklist. Surgeons use them, airline pilots use them. Lawyers, for whatever reason, are pretty opposed to checklists, and I think that is a downfall of our profession. If we use checklists every time, we will be better service providers. But you can have checklists or workflows for things like intake, billing, new matter creation, closing tasks, whatever you need. And please don't forget document automation, guys. Every single time you create the same document for a client that you've created before, it needs to be done with document automation. Fee agreements, scope of representations, basic pleadings, all of that can be done with either Microsoft Word templates or templates within your software. In the case of TimeSolve, you're going to create those invoices, those bills, those cover letters that you send out to your clients. All of those can be templates, and you don't have to worry about creating those manually. I talk to firms every single day that are still creating those things manually in Microsoft Word, and it takes so much time, and it's a great way to make mistakes, right? So using templates eliminates mistakes, eliminates time. And again, it's about creating value within your firm and using the time of your employees in a valuable way. All right, the next thing that I see that law firms make mistakes on, specifically lawyers, not law firms generally, but lawyers themselves, is this constant redefining of success. Well, I didn't achieve my goal, so I'm going to downgrade my goal. I really wanted to make I wanted to make enough money to put a down payment on a beach house by the end of this year, right? I wanted to make enough money to buy my wife the, new car that she wanted. And when we don't meet those goals, we downgrade them, right? Sometimes we meet those goals and we don't take a minute to appreciate our success. It is crucial, and this is just a matter of basic human psychology, that you have a goal and that you know what that goal is and the time frame to get there and the actual steps to get there. So stop thinking that goals are just going to happen because you imagine them. Yeah, there's this idea that, you can manifest success. Certainly, people have been talking about that for a long time. I personally am more of a planner. I don't manifest a lot of my own success that way. I plan and achieve specific goals. When you are looking at your goals, and this might be a little soft, folks, but I promise it's important. I truly believe that this is important. When you look at what success is for you, you need to define your why. Why are you in the firm you're in? Why are you doing the things that you are doing? Why are you working so hard? And if you're not working so hard, what would make you work harder? What is your why? When you look at your goal, right? And your why for me, my why is providing the kinds of things for my children that I did not have as a kid. Right? Disney vacations, lots of after school activities, private school, that type of thing. That's my why. That's why I work. Your why is going to be really different because it's going to be personal to you. You need to look at your goal, though. For me, private school, Disney, whatever it happens to be, that particular goal. What are my steps to get there? Over and over and over again. Are my steps defined? Do I have a timeline on them? Are they actually achievable? And I need to understand what I'm going to do to actually meet that goal, right? But please remember, your goal, it does not have to be what someone else's is. Don't feel like you need to do something because you have a family and you need to work really hard for your family, right? You might just be really motivated to be the most successful person in your firm. Great. Know who you are and set your goal. Define it. And then when you meet it, define it again. But you will not have a level of personal success unless you're just very lucky if you don't define the actual steps you need to take to get there. So let's make that more real for just a second here. So let's say my goal is to, I need to up my billing by 15% in order to meet my goals. I know that I'm going to get the money that I want. I know that I'm going to get the accolades that I want if I increase my billing by 15%. How am I going to do that? One, I'm going to stop doing manual processes that I can put on auto repeat. Two, I'm going to stop wasting time with things that my clients don't actually want or care about. Three, I'm going to stop wasting time on collections because I'm going to turn on automatic payments or recurring payments for my clients. They're going to put a payment on file, and I'm just going to automatically bill them. I'm gonna stop spending a lot of time on those things. I'm going to generate more revenue, and I'm going to bill more time by eliminating administrative tasks wherever possible, right? So think about it. If you want help talking about your individual goals and specific steps to get there, reach out to me. I will actually spend time with you on a very personal level, defining your specific task and what you need. The next thing that I really want you to take a look at is red flags. Law firms ignore red flags all the time. Very frequently, we'll see firms either come into a merge situation where two partners or potential partners were friends, and it's just never going to work because it's two totally separate practice areas and they have totally different cultures in their firms. I see folks running their own firms and they think, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm doing this, I should be successful enough, but they just can't seem to get ahead, right? So red flags you need to be aware of, especially as a individual contributor or as someone who owns their own firm, someone who has control over some things that you do on your day-to-day basis. You never feel like you are personally profitable enough or bringing in enough revenue to the firm. There's never enough time for your personal pursuits, right? You don't ever have any repeat clients. Big red flag. You don't have client referrals. Huge red flag. And importantly, especially for business owners, your books don't balance. So let's talk about the actual danger zone metrics here that you need to just understand, especially if you are in control of the finances. If you are collecting less than 90% of what you bill, you are wasting your time and you need to take a good hard look at your process, right? Again, this is an actual metric that is knowable in your firm. If you don't know it, reach out to TimeSolve today and take a look at that. If you have collections that are less than your total accounts payable for the past 2 months, over 2 months, what did I collect? What are my total accounts payable? Am I digging into my savings for more than 2 months in a row? You need to look at your process. And if your liquid assets are less than your payables as of today, that is a massive danger zone metric, right? You never want to have to get into reactive budgeting, which we'll talk about in the next slide. But these 3 things: collections less than 90%, collections less than payable for 2 months or more, and liquid assets as of today that you have access to are less than your payables. You need to get on the phone with TimeSolve today, as soon as you are done with this, and you need to say, I need to start collecting right now. I need to send out invoices. I need to collect right now. We'll get you started. This afternoon, we'll help you run invoices, okay? But if you fall into any one of these 3 categories, reach out. All right, if you are there, it might be time to do some reactive budgeting, which is what we never want to do, right? We absolutely never want to do reactive budgeting. And this is something that I see law firms do all the time, especially small law firms. Where are you today, right? That's going to be your starting place. Do you need to make some adjustments? Maybe you do, but let's talk about looking forward. In order to understand what our budget needs to be next month, what it needs to be next week, we need to look at some actual data here. So what were your payments this month, this quarter, last quarter, and this year? How do they compare year over year? Can you look at the year beyond that? It's really important to understand if your business is cyclical. A lot of folks will say, oh, well, it's always slower in the summertime. That's actually not true, folks. For some folks it is. For some folks it absolutely is, but it's not always the case. I wouldn't even say it's a case the majority of the time, because people still need to work. People still have wills that need to be made and estates that need to be administered. They still have marriages that are failing or prenuptial agreements that need to be made, right? So people still continue to live. If you need to tailor your business to a new practice area in the summer months, okay, fine. But understand exactly where you were and if there is a cyclical nature in your firm and when those low points are, right? I really, really want you to pay attention to the percent growth to your payables and the percent growth in your receivables. What am I paying out? What am I receiving? What's coming in? What's my revenue that's coming in? If these grow in a steady ratio, it's not the worst thing in the world. If your payables are going up and just the percentage of your payables are going up and the percentage of your receivables are not, that's not okay. Even if you have more receivables than you have payables, that will eventually catch up if they aren't growing in the right ratio or your ratio is inverted, okay? Quite obviously, you truly need to have a budget. If you don't have a budget, again, I will personally help you put a budget together because it is crucial for your firm. All right. But if you have an inverted ratio where your receivables are increasing faster, your payables are increasing faster than your receivables, you need to take a good, hard look at your processes, right? First, you need to tighten your budget, tighten your belt to slow down the increase in payables, right? And then you need to take a look at your billing structure, your collection structure, and your fee structure. What I see so often is with lawyers who have to, they're trying to increase revenue, they actually reduce their fees because they think that it's going to cause them to generate more business. I can tell you, counter to your intuition, that's just generally not the case. Lawyers who reduce fees attract poorly paying clients. And most folks are going to talk to 3 or 4 attorneys. They're not, and that's on the outside, they're not going to compare you to 10 people, right? So most of the time, if you're just within the range of what your peers are charging, what's going to win you over is your personal relationship with the client and the services that you provide. If you are seeing an increase in your payables faster than your receivables, folks, it is time to increase your fees. It just is. It doesn't have to be by much, but it is time to increase your fees. There are other things that you can do as well, but don't be afraid to do that. You probably haven't evaluated your fees in several months, if not several years, and you should do that on an extremely regular basis. The next thing that I want to talk about is the mistakes that lawyers make and law firms make is making assumptions about clients. People assume clients want to hire a lawyer if they come into a law firm. That's not always the case. Very frequently, clients just want to be told that they're right, or they just want someone to make someone else's life miserable, and they're paying you for that. They're not paying you for your actual advice or your counsel, right? They don't care about that piece of it. So to set expectations with your client, you need to have some really hard conversations on the front end. And we alluded to this earlier when we talked about the client consultation and setting yourself up for success, for paying clients, for successful clients, for client referrals, for repeat clients. All of that happens in the client consultation. And this is when we need to just wipe our hands of any assumptions that we've made. The very first question you always need to ask someone when they are coming in for a consultation is, why do you want to hire an attorney? Not what are you here for? Not tell me about your situation. None of that. You need to ask them specifically, why do you want to hire an attorney? The goal here is to ask them enough follow-up questions to help them understand that an attorney, being their advocate, is the right choice for them. Right? That they can't do this on their own, that they really do see you as a value add in their lives. Establishing that in that first conversation creates the psychology that's necessary for them to be satisfied with paying your invoices when they get them, right? Why do they want to hire an attorney? You need to also ask what their expectations of you are. What do they expect as a client? Do they expect you to win all the time? Do they expect you to be a bulldog or sound counsel? And you need to help them understand exactly how you're going to represent them, even if it's not what they expected when they walked through the door. Helping them understand how you operate as an attorney is going to help them be satisfied with the outcome. It's an important question, an important conversation to have. And you need to go through your fee agreement with them in a consultation. If they are going to hire you as an attorney, it's not, okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Here, sign these papers. This is how we operate. It's a level of mutual respect. We've talked about your expectations of me. These are my expectations of you as a client. This is when I expect to get paid, and I'm going to go ahead and put a payment method on file. That needs to be part of your client consultation and setting expectations. You don't want to assume that they're going to know how they want to pay. You're not going to assume that they're going to read everything thoroughly. You're not going to assume that they know exactly why they want to hire an attorney. You're not going to assume that they're going to be satisfied with the way you represent them. You are going to talk about those things in every single consultation you do, and that is going to set you up for a much higher degree of success. And then the last thing I want to talk about is stop undervaluing your work, right? Stop minimizing your own effort. I mentioned this earlier. You are valuable as a contributor to not only your clients, but to the profession as a whole, as society as a whole. We need lawyers. We do things that are necessary to keep the trains running on time, right? We have the arduous role of protecting people's life, liberty, and property. I personally don't, because I work for a technology company now, and frankly, it's a lot of fun, but you do. And I want you to respect that position that you have. So stop minimizing what you do. Stop writing things off because a client's not happy with the total bill, right? Help them understand why you build them. Stop giving away your time for free. Stop free consultations if you can. Bill folks for the time when they are working with you, or have a flat rate that includes time for you to consult with your clients. And please understand that your perspective is extremely meaningful to clients. That's why they hire you. All right, it looks like everybody's logging off. Please feel free to reach out via email. I'm that I can. And thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great day.